Hello and welcome to Health and PE 518. My name is Coach Amanda Misselhorn. Today's presentation is on teaching physical education to students with hearing impairments. 45 years ago, the IDEA Act was signed into federal law by President Gerald Ford. The IDEA Act mandates that all children with disabilities must receive physical education in the least restrictive environment to meet their unique needs. The IDEA Act defines 13 categories of disabilities as shown here on the chart. Today we're going to speak about students with hearing impairments. Approximately 1 out of every 1,000 children in the United States are born every year with hearing loss. Approximately 15% of school-aged children have some degree of hearing loss, and we still want them to have a great experience in our physical education classes. The local and state laws also talk about the IDEA Act and mandate that every child with a disability must receive physical education services. Each child is afforded the same opportunity to participate in PE programs as prescribed by their individual education program. It's important as a physical education coach to speak with the child's parents and the IEP teacher to make sure we understand what the IEP describes for the child and plan ahead so we can prepare a great physical education experience for every child with a disability. The Pennsylvania Department of Education also talks about assistive technology being available in physical education classes based on the child's IEP on a case-by-case basis. Some ideas for utilizing assistive technology are using lights in PE class. If we can purchase a light like this that signals red for stop, yellow for warning, and green for go, we can use light technology to signal to the child when we need to communicate to stop or go. Other ideas that could help communicate with deaf students are using a flag, that we can use a flag to signal. Often PE coaches are used to using whistles to say stop, go, and now we can raise a flag and make sure the student understands our communication when they can go, when they can stop. If you use a flag, you can think about it like a soccer official where they're able to point in the direction of the foul, point in the direction that the student should go, and utilize the flag to make signals to help communicate with a deaf student. Other ideas for teaching PE to students with hearing impairments are using multisensory equipment such as a rainbow softball that has different colors, feels to it. Again, you need to make sure you make a plan for your physical education class based on age-appropriate equipment, age-appropriate games, and a suggestion is using balls with bright colors or lights. Sign language is also a great way to communicate with deaf students. It's important to try to understand how to communicate with each one of your students and starting to learn sign language. And here's the alphabet of sign language where you can communicate with a student. You can also start to learn some basic sign language signals to be able to communicate with a student. Another way to help your deaf students is to use the buddy system. This is good for both deaf and blind students, that based on providing a safe environment for your student in a gym. Maybe it's best to have the deaf student have a buddy where they can hold onto their arm or a rope and run alongside with them to know where the boundaries are, where to go, and just help to follow the game and make it a little clearer for your students with disabilities. Another way to communicate with students is to use images and infographics. And I've created this infographic for PE class that you could create, hang up on the wall, and at the beginning of the class go over, touch T-ball and point out to the student, today we're playing T-ball, or today we're going to do track relays, and help communicate with the student what the game is for the day. Here's another infographic I've created where you can also communicate what tag game you're going to play. So we're going to play blob tag today, or we're going to do jump roping, or whichever skill group we're going to use. Maybe we're going to work on our throwing, okay, and we point to the infographic that says throwing. We can hang something like this on the gym wall and help communicate with all of our students better. This is also good for the use of the student, where they can run up and say, oh, I want to do shooting today, or I need to take a potty break, or I need a water break, and you can go over to the wall and touch the infographic and communicate with your deaf student. There's a lot of new technology out there available to help better communicate with deaf students. The iPhone that almost every coach has nowadays, that you can use Siri to speak into it, hold the phone up to the student and show what you're trying to communicate. There's also other applications such as the Hamilton Captel mobile app and Dragon Dictation, which are different technologies that you can use on your phone or on your computer and speak into the phone or computer, and it'll type it out for you, and then you can show the student and communicate through visual words on the phone or computer. It's important that we make our students feel that there are no limits to their education, that they're able to excel in our physical education classes, and we really want them to feel good and motivated in our physical education classes. There's some great inspirational stories, such as Gallaudet University, that has an entire athletic department that competes against colleges that are not deaf. This is their football team using the hand signal to stop, that they do the 2 arms out, and they have a great football program. It's also on Netflix right now on DeafU, where you can watch other deaf students and have a great college experience. Gallaudet is a great inspiration for many deaf people, and they've been the inventor of some interesting stuff such as American Sign Language, as well as the sports huddle. That back in 1892, the football quarterback was trying to use sign language to tell his teammates what play to run, and he was worried about the opponent stealing the sign language signals. So instead, they huddled together and did a huddle to hide the sign language signals, and thus created today's huddle. Other inspirational athletes that we can use examples for our young students are to talk about Tamika Catchings, an Olympic basketball player who is deaf and has not let that slow her down, or Derek Coleman, a Super Bowl champion who has really excelled in football despite his hearing impairment. He is great at lip reading, even through the helmet, that he's able to read the lips of the quarterback or the coach and understand what's going on in the football game. Another inspirational moment that we can use for our young students is to talk about the Deaf Olympics. This is just like the Olympics, with many sports offered, and every athlete has at least a 55 decibel loss in their ear. They're not allowed to use their hearing aids during the Deaf Olympics, and spectators are encouraged not to cheer or clap, but to use the hand signal to applause the athletes by waving their hands and using the sign language symbol for applause. Sport is very inspirational, just like the Olympics. At the Deaf Olympics in 2017 were in Turkey, and here's a video that's very inspirational, showing some of these deaf athletes really excelling despite their hearing impairment.
Win or lose, the athletes are setting great examples just by refusing to give up and not letting their disability stop them from having a normal life.
These athletes are very special. We try to form bonds with them. And for the past 8 months, we've constantly been spending time together as a group and getting ready for the Deaf Olympics. But we have our goals, Olympic goals. We're playing at home, and hopefully we can reach our goals as a team.
The first Deaf Olympics were held in Paris in 1924. They were also the first ever international event for athletes with a disability.
These athletes are a big inspiration to us, and we hope that you can also be inspired. I like seeing the coach use hand signals to point out communication to the athletes, as well as the basketball athlete talk about how a hearing impairment is not a disadvantage to him, and he's still able to excel in basketball and life. So a big thank you for listening to my presentation today. Here are the sources that I use for this presentation, and I want to thank you for your time, and good luck in your next PE class.